Hello, everyone. And first of all, Happy New Year. This is the 2nd of January, 2021. I have to keep reminding myself it's 2021 already. And I want to welcome all of you who have turned up to listen to not me, but to listen to Rowena, who is going to come on in a little bit to share with us about leveraging our LinkedIn. So I think that today's topic is going to be really fascinating because many of us are on LinkedIn. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you have to get a LinkedIn, okay? So this is a topic that I always wanted to talk about because I feel that while we are on Facebook, and I know Facebook is fun, and we have all our family and our friends and all our buddies on Facebook, there is still a place that we need to go for professional networking. And because of the things that have happened in the past year, last year, I should say, in the last year, 2020, we need to look beyond the face-to-face networking. So that is why I'm very excited and I'm very pleased to bring Rowena Morais on. And she is calling in all the way from Canberra, Australia. So before we get her into this Facebook Live session, I'd like to welcome all of you, especially those of you who have just joined us. Hi, Eileen. Hi, Jean. Happy New Year. Hi, Rose. See a lot of my friends and buddies here. That's why I say Facebook is perfect for things like this. So one of the things that I wanted to also announce before I bring her on is that for those of you who have been following us, this is episode 19 of the Redbox Studio Facebook Live series, and I'm Krista Goon. And more importantly, I just wanted to announce that I think on the 31st of December, I launched my podcast, and I want all of you, if you didn't know about it, please do check out womenpreneurasia.com. Let me just pull out. Okay, do check out womenpreneurasia.com. This is the podcast website, but you can also find my podcast of the same name, Womenpreneur Asia, on all the major podcast platforms that you listen to your podcast on, right? So it's on Spotify and it's on Google Podcasts and all those fantastic places. So please do check it out because I interview some of the most amazing women entrepreneurs in Asia. And I want you to also let me know and feedback to me and tell me what you think of the podcast. So now that that's over and done with, let me bring on our dear friend Rowena. Hi, Rowena.
Hi, Krista.
Hi. So we had an interesting morning, didn't we? Or your afternoon?
Yes, it is. It is. It is all good. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show, and congratulations on the podcast. Very exciting to hear about that.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'd like to say some hellos first to some people who also just joined us, who logged in. Hi, Neil. Hi, Rose, and all these people. So if you're in for the first time, please just say hello so our guest knows where you're from. But I think most of you who I'm seeing on the screen right now are probably from Penang, Malaysia. But if you're from any other place besides Penang, Malaysia, please let us know. Okay, so today we are going to talk about this very interesting topic called leverage LinkedIn. And Rowena, you are the perfect person to talk about that.
Well, I can definitely give you all some tips for sure. Yes, especially for those who are going to start.
Yeah, and I think there is always a good time because this is the new year. Nothing like the new year to kick us into doing something positive for our business.
Absolutely.
But before we get there, I know you have something to share with us. So I always get my guests to bring on a book or a favorite read of theirs so that we know what you're reading. I kind of like know what kind of reading tastes or habits that you have. So show us, what's the book?
Like physically, the book?
You can tell us. You can tell us.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have a couple of favorites, but I think if I had to limit myself to one, it would be Getting There, a book of mentors by Jillian Zoe Segal. And it's basically 30 entrepreneurs in diverse fields, speaking in their own words, each person per chapter, talking about their entrepreneurial journey. And I really love this book. It's very inspiring. And what I really take away from the book is the fact that there's no shortcut, and all of us have to go through some hardship. I think often, whether it's you have your Facebook and your Instagram and all of those things which kind of allow you to curate the best and the brightest aspects of our life, and you think people will think that that's just it, that you just have all of the success, but there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. So what you see really is just the tip of it, and reading this book really opens your mind to everyone's struggles, even the people that are famous, because the book has got quite a number, 30 people in there. Jillian Michaels, Anderson Cooper, Muhammad Yunus, just some of the names. And you really get an insight into what they're thinking, all the struggles, and it just makes you feel like, okay, you're not the only one. Everyone is going through that struggle. So it's very inspiring to know that all of these people stuck through whatever their individual hardships were to get to the other side.
Okay.
So I would definitely recommend it.
I love how you because I didn't even know what book you're going to talk about, but I feel that it just aligns so well with what I'm doing for the podcast. It's like
you would love this.
I too want to. That's the reason why I started the podcast, was because I wanted to interview everyday women in business who are also doing what they do. But a lot of times we don't see the struggle. We just see what's there, like, oh yeah, she's got this successful business and career and everything else going on for her. But we don't really see the struggles, the early years, the things that she has done way before this and failed.
Yeah, so absolutely.
So I think
that's what I love. Yeah, that's what I love about the book, is the fact that, it's like movies, you're like within a 2-hour window, you're taking a snapshot of somebody's entire lifetime. And so it's how badly do you want something? And that's what's coming across in the book. It's how badly did all of these people want whatever they wanted. That's one, they wanted it really bad and they stuck it out. Two, a lot of it is a journey. It's a zigzag. Not everybody wakes up and knows exactly what they're going to do. So they arrive at it over time. And so that, all of these different aspects play very well together to kind of give you an insight, peel back the curtain, so to speak, on everyone's journey. So it's nice. Yeah. It's good.
Okay. So now that you have introduced your book, let me introduce you.
Okay.
Properly, right? So I want to just quickly introduce Rowena. By the way, she's calling in from Australia, and I want to prep all of you. If you have questions, or sometimes, you're probably a little bit concerned about using LinkedIn and all that. I mean, get your questions ready so that you can ask Rowena. But before that, let me just introduce her properly. So Rowena Morais is, she is, how shall I say? She's someone that I've known even before I spoke to her. So it's quite an interesting way of knowing someone. I knew of her because of LinkedIn. So that's the interesting part about LinkedIn anyway. So Rowena Morais is the author of Build a Body of Work and the founder and creative director of Digital Confluence, a boutique marketing and communications firm in Canberra, Australia. So she will be sharing with us how to leverage our LinkedIn for more opportunities and connections that really matter. And I think Rowena has done that really, really well for herself on LinkedIn. So I encourage all of you to go and connect with her on LinkedIn. So before that, let me just introduce her a little bit more. She is an editor, writer, marketer, and LinkedIn profile writer. She is the former founding editor of HR Matters magazine, a niche human resource publication which ran for 8 years. And over the last decade, she has been helping professionals refine their LinkedIn profiles and digital presence. She has spoken on the TEDx stage twice and delivers workshops on leveraging LinkedIn and offers a class on Skillshare, aptly titled Build Influence Through LinkedIn. So Rowena also works with organizations and senior executives with their communication, branding, and content development initiatives. So I'm particularly keen to talk to her as LinkedIn is fast becoming the place for business owners, CEOs, and professionals looking for business opportunities. It used to be a place for people looking for jobs, but in the past few years that I've been on the platform, it has been getting more and more exciting. So there were some stats that I actually pulled up. And one of the things that really surprised me was that there are 700 million LinkedIn users. So if that number doesn't make you want to get into LinkedIn more, I don't know what will. But that itself is a very interesting statistic. And let me see, what else did I pull up? Okay, I did some homework. 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions at their companies. Okay, so it means that they are making decisions for their businesses and their companies. And in 2019, LinkedIn was voted the most trusted network by Business Insider. And the other part of which is can be an opportunity, is that only 15% of LinkedIn members are creating content for LinkedIn. So after hearing all this, I hope all of you are excited about LinkedIn because I am. I didn't know it was, I mean, I know it's getting more and more popular and more professionals and CEOs were getting on LinkedIn, but the numbers are astounding. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, Rowena, of course you.
Of course,
You are.
yes. It is amazing. The numbers are amazing.
Yeah. So when we looked at it like that way, do you still think that LinkedIn is one of those places that if you're really serious about business, should all of us get onto that platform?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, unlike some other platforms where you might have to pay, I mean, you can have of course, you've got Facebook and Instagram where you don't have to pay. But this is a platform that doesn't require very much in that sense that in order to fully leverage it, you'd want to get a paid subscription so that you can really see all the different aspects and features, but you can get by even without it. And often enough, many people do. I think some people are underusing it, but yes, definitely everybody should have a LinkedIn profile because it's an opportunity to help you further your own goals. I don't say to get on LinkedIn because everyone else is on it so much as the fact that you have an opportunity to do stuff with this platform that can support you in your initiatives, whether it's building more visibility for yourself or, I mean, I can totally see how the platform works if you're an entrepreneur. But people who are salaried and working for organizations, you can totally use the platform effectively for your own business goals, for your own department's goals, for your own goals as a leader as well. So yes, definitely. Everyone needs to have a LinkedIn account.
Whether paid or free, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now I want to ask you this question. How did you get on LinkedIn? I mean, when do you get on LinkedIn? And how
Oh my
do you
gosh.
get to learn about using LinkedIn?
When did I get on LinkedIn? 2007. A very,
Wow.
very long time ago, like almost,
Okay.
I think it started maybe in 2004 or 2005. So very soon after it was launched, I got onto it and I thought, oh, this is interesting because it's a professional network. Why would you not consider it? And at that time, it was very much resume driven. It was very much about, be here so that you can get a job. But I saw it as more than that, you could just have wider, bigger connections. And it was around that time that I was launching HR Matters magazine. And I saw that the platform would be useful for me to make connections outside of Malaysia. So that was that. And well, the honest truth is I was just willing to play around with it. I said, oh, what is this? I'm just going to go in and have a look, see. What was your second question?
And how do you learn how to
Oh,
use it?
through use, basically. I mean, I didn't do any courses or anything. And now you've got courses and lots of people professing to be experts on the platform. But back then, you just had to play around with it. So everything has been a journey in that sense. It's been organic and just in the process of trying to figure it out. That's how I learned. And build my profile. Basically, I use myself as the guinea pig, So when I tell people how to build influence or how to build more visibility, I'm just looking at the things that I did myself and what worked and what didn't work. What didn't work.
Okay. Yeah. So then that gives me a great opportunity to ask you. So what didn't work or what worked? Maybe I should talk about what didn't work.
What didn't work? Well, okay. So I look at building more visibility on LinkedIn in terms of 3 areas that you can focus on. The first is that you need to build your digital profile. I mean, LinkedIn is a good opportunity to build your digital profile, but it doesn't have to be the only one. You can also look at building your digital profile in other ways. Basically, you want a digital real estate, and that is your website. So you should always be driving people home. Your website is your home, but you use platforms like LinkedIn to kind of distribute, to kind of reach out and build that community or build that network. So that's the building of the profile. The second is the building of the network, which is really about going out there and creating a very relevant tribe or a set of people around you that have an appreciation of what you do, who want to hear from you and who you want to connect to. And the third is the building a body of work or a kind of digital portfolio that can speak to your expertise, that can speak to your experience over the years. So I guess if I have to say what didn't work or what I struggle with more, I would say it's the second one, which is the building of the network. I think it is building the digital profile has been relatively easy to do. Building the body of work has come easier to me now over the years, but when I first started out, it was tough. But the thing I guess that I struggle with is the building of the network, because at the end of the day, you want to have a big network, of thousands of people, but you also want it to be relevant, and you also want, it's not just about it. In some ways, it is a numbers game that you have to have the numbers, but besides the numbers, you also want to make sure that they're engaged. There's no point in having 12,000 followers if nobody is engaging with your content, because the whole point of having the network is that they are willing to listen to you, hear what you have to say. And if it resonates, then they help to amplify your message. But if they are not connecting with you and it's just, you've just got all these followers, but nothing's happening, then in some ways that doesn't really work. There's no point. And that is one of the harder things that I struggle with, is that when I started out, I was very specific about the kind of people that I wanted to connect with, which is good because you're building the tribe that is relevant to you. And some other people would take a different approach, which is, I just want to build the numbers, get the numbers. Anybody, you got the lions and all of those people who were like, let's just spend, half an hour just connecting randomly with a whole bunch of people. And I think when you maybe have, you're starting from zero, then maybe that's good to just get off the ground. But over the long term, I don't think that that's such a good strategy, because ultimately you still want a relevant network. Then everything fits together.
Okay. So I like your point about connecting with people that you really want, relevant, basically relevant, and people that you really want to connect with. But I always struggle with this problem, is that sometimes people want to connect with me, and when I go and look at their profile, I don't see many similarities, or they're probably just clicking randomly. So to me, I feel that, I feel kind of bad if I kind of reject them. But at the same time, I feel that it may not be relevant so much for me. Maybe it's for them, maybe they want to get to know new people and all that. So how does one deal with things like that? Especially these days with LinkedIn, anybody can connect with you, right? They can see your profile pop up and then they say, oh yeah, I want to connect with this person. I'll connect with this person. But you get so many connection requests, but you really want to also make it a quality connection, not just getting anyone and everyone as a connection.
Yes, true. I mean, I think the way to look at it also is the fact that you have total control throughout. So if later on you find that you've accepted a connection that you're not, like, maybe they're doing stuff, commenting inappropriately, or it's just not working out, you can always remove the connection. So you're still in control. Now, obviously, once you've got thousands and thousands of connections, you're not going to do that with a whole bunch of them. So probably the better approach is to kind of make that decision at the beginning whether to accept or not. Now, I know quite a number of people kind of don't see the point of accepting connection requests from strangers. But this is a social platform, and the whole idea is to be social. And although you do want a relevant network, I think it's worthwhile to be open and to do some analysis beforehand. So one of the things you could do is kind of evaluate, first of all, whether that person is a real person, because you do have, I've seen these like
Scammers.
scammers, from certain countries, and you
Yeah.
know what they're doing. This is the kind of
Yeah.
stuff that they used to do by email, which they did in Facebook, and now they're also on LinkedIn. So if you can evaluate their profile, just have a look at their profile, and more importantly, you can see from their background, their work experience, and their education a little bit, because they can also fool you there. But that in conjunction with looking at the activities gives you an idea of how real they are, because from the activities you'll see the kind of things that they're sharing, you might see the things that they're posting, and that'll give you a sense of that person. So once you do that initial analysis, you can decide, okay, is this worth accepting? And of course, if they are in the same, industry, or you feel, for somebody who's like an entrepreneur, there's every possibility that they might want advice, or they, maybe someone recommended that they connect with you, or they're just curious. So I think, if you keep those kind of possibilities in mind, you say to yourself, why not? I'll accept the connection, because if anything is out of whack, then I can always go back in and just remove that connection if I have to. Once you have too many, 'cause you're limited to about 30,000. And after that point, then people can't connect, then they have to follow you. So that's also, another way to still be in touch with somebody without having to have that connection. Does
Okay.
that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But when you remove that person as a connection, will that person know?
Not straight away. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not keeping up to date, by the minute on all the changes in LinkedIn, and there are quite a few changes, but I believe they don't know straight away. What if they do go to your profile, then they'll say, "Hey, I'm not connected," and that's how they'll know, but they don't get a
Okay.
notification. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a sneaky way of finding out. Like suddenly you go.
And also you've got all of those, in your settings, in your notifications, and in your settings, the number of settings now has just grown. We've got settings on a whole bunch of things: your privacy, communications, notifications, and posts, and everything. So it takes a bit of time, but you do want to go through your settings, your account preferences, and your sign-in options, and your visibility, and all that, and adjust it to your level of comfort, so that you are as visible or as not as visible as you'd like to be.
Okay. So we'll take I think there's a question here. Okay. So first of all, hi Daniel. Hello, Merry Christmas. Daniel said Merry Christmas. Hi Daniel. And
Merry
Happy New
Christmas,
Year.
Daniel.
Okay, that's Asohan. Hi Asohan. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Waven has a question. So I'm gonna pull it out here. So she says, in some applications, some companies ask if you have a LinkedIn account. And then there's a slot where you need to upload your resume. Which takes precedence in terms of their screening process, and how do we reconcile both? Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's a
Well,
lot of questions.
let me see. Are you going to keep that question up so I can have a look?
Yes, I'm going to keep it.
Which takes precedence? It's hard to say, because every company is different and they'll have their own process and way of doing things. But as a general rule, if you have a LinkedIn account and a resume, you should have both. They should be aligned anyway. So it shouldn't really matter which is the one that they pay attention to, because if they're both relatively saying the same thing, then it doesn't really matter which that they're looking at. You should have a digital resume, and you should have a LinkedIn account. And with some of these places where they ask you to upload your resume, you could do that. But I find that when you manually do it, it kind of gets uploaded in the way that you want. Some of these automations, sometimes things go out of whack, and then the chronological order or some of those things get taken off. Or so I find that the automation doesn't really work. If you want to make sure that you do it as manually as you can to make sure that it is going the way you want. And this is the first impression, right? So although it eases your process to kind of do it in an automatic way, the manual way just ensures that you are creating the impression that you want to create. So so just to recap, which takes precedence, they're both relevant as long as they're both speaking to the same thing. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, hope that answers your question, Vern. So yes, thank you so much. So sorry for that little pause where we had to take a question, but we are back. We're back to asking you other questions. So for instance, just say a lot of people I know, they whenever I ask for their LinkedIn, they say, "Oh, my LinkedIn is so old. I've never
Yeah.
updated it in like years." So what do you say to people like that? How do you get them, like, to actually do something?
To do something. Okay. Well, I'll say to them, at the end of the day, you, me, all of us, we want to build more influence. Whether you'd like to see it that way or not, that's what we're doing. As long as we're in business, as long as we're working, we are working to build more influence for ourselves, right? So that people take us seriously, so that people value what we have to say, so that people begin to look to us for guidance or for answers, right? So we have an opportunity with a platform like this to make an impact, and we should. LinkedIn is gone beyond just being a place to find a job. It's really a place that you can make an impact by putting yourself out there. And the best way to do that is to start slowly. I can, totally see that when you're coming at this for the first time and you've never done something like this before, it can be incredibly daunting, and like, where do I start? And I would say baby steps. The first thing you should do is just focus on making sure you've got your best foot forward. People are going to look at you. So knowing that you should have a profile out there, let it work for you 24/7. So focus on getting the best digital profile as you can for yourself out there on LinkedIn. And when you do that, that is, the work is done. And whatever other social platform you're choosing to use, you can just extrapolate and take the material and put that across the other platforms if you wanted to. So your Twitter or your Facebook or whatever. I know you're totally right. A lot of people do say, I haven't done anything, or, oh, last time I did something was when I was looking for a job, and now I'm looking for a job. So I'm going to go back in. It doesn't work that way as much now, because there are lots of people on, and everybody is putting an effort to be heard, to be visible. So this is a situation where if someone were to ask, am I going 2 steps back? You are. By not being out there and everybody is moving ahead, you are actually going backwards by not having just that baseline presence. Forget about being active and forget about engaging and reaching out to other people. Just not being there, not being visible. I mean, even if you're visible, you have a profile, but you don't go in and you don't check and you don't, check your messages or anything like that. That's also, there's no point in that. So, yeah.
So that's also where I want to talk about when you say build your body of work. What does that mean for a person? Like, it could be an entrepreneur, it could be someone who's looking for a job, I don't know, a career person, but what does that mean?
Okay, so let's use the person that I put in the book, Build a Body of Work. I just used the example of a HR person. So HR people, they they do a lot of work in talent development, and they want to be seen as business partners, right? Really partnering with the business to get the business forward. There are also lots of, maybe misconceptions about what HR can and cannot do, how well they're aligned to the business. And there's lots of, myths and that sort of stuff. So when you build a body of work, what you're doing is you're letting your work speak for you, so that even if you're not there, people have an opportunity, like a taster almost, of, okay, I get it. I have an understanding of the kind of work that this person does. I have an understanding of just how well this person knows their subject matter. So if you're a HR person, a HR manager, and you want to get a HR BP role, a HR business partner role, your body of work is a tangible representation of what you know. So you'd want to write articles or maybe develop an infographic or just a set of slides all on HR topics. So if you are very, very, very focused on, say, performance management, you'd want to develop slides on how to manage performance in the organization. And the way to build that body of work is to just imagine, because I think when people are starting to do that, they're like, oh, what do I say? And like, who am I writing this for?
Yeah.
So the trick
Am
that
I
I
talking
learned
to
is,
myself? Am I talking to
yeah,
myself?
yeah.
Echo chamber.
So, and also you feel like, everyone's already said that. Like, what am I going to say that is
Yeah.
going to be new?
Yeah. How can
Or,
I add, right? How
yeah,
can I add
how
more?
can I add? And I mean, it's something that I myself, when I was starting out writing, I was also facing that same thing. Like, what am I going to add to this? It's very, very scary, and you feel like you're going to be judged because you have to hit publish. I mean, there's no point writing all of this in a journal. It has to be out there, public, so people can see. And the way I did it was to say to myself, just imagine that I'm writing for myself at the start of my career. So I'm just out 1 or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, and you have an idea of all the things that you don't know and all the things that you're struggling with, and you're writing for that person. So you don't have to feel that you're writing for your boss or a senior HR person who already knows a ton of stuff, because you would not be relevant to that person. But to the person who's coming up, who's behind you in that journey, a lot of the stuff that you're sharing is going to be very valuable to them. The thing is, when we know all that we know, we don't fully realize how much it is that we know. It's only when we are talking to other people who may be further down the journey, that they share with you that, oh my God, okay, that I didn't realize. Then you say, oh, okay, it seems so commonplace, like I know this, but somebody else didn't. And so that's where you feel like you can add value. So write for somebody that is much younger in their career, and you will be able to contribute and add value in that way.
Okay. And then the other thing that I think not only most people actually would think of it this way. If I'm writing a digital profile of myself, right? Do I do it in the first person or do I do it in the third person? Because it's like always this, this thing, right? Like, do I write about myself as in me, or do I get other people to write about me, or like as if another person's writing about me?
Totally right in the first person.
Okay.
But I would also say write in the second person, in the sense that use the profile to talk directly to your reader. Have an idea in your mind, who who do you think is looking at your profile, and then talk to them. So you talk in the second person in the about section, where you talk about yourself. So you would incorporate a little bit of first and second, but never third, because this is your profile. Third person is useful when someone has invited you to speak at a conference and they need a speaker bio. Okay, that's written in a third person. It fits because someone else is going to introduce you at the conference anyway. And but when you write your own profile, it should be talking in the first person, but also incorporating talking in the second person, where you are talking directly to your reader. Tell them what you want them to know about you.
Okay. Because sometimes people have that, they're in the dilemma, right? Because they say, oh, I want to write about myself, but I don't know how to write about myself because it just feels so like it's not so authentic. Because if they're writing like so and so is or so and so
Yeah.
has done this, so
Well, it's hard to write about yourself. It's very tough because you don't want to seem to be bragging, and you don't want to seem like full of yourself, but at the same time you're in the right place because this is your profile. So you do want to give people an indication, an idea of who you are and what you're about. But the way in which you do it, the words you choose, and how you write will inevitably give the reader an idea of who you are. So if you are very full of yourself, somehow it will come out. And if you are not so full of yourself, and you've got some I don't
Humility.
know.
Is
Yeah,
it
some
humility?
humility. It will, yeah, it's tough, but it will still come out. I think the main thing is just have an idea. Okay, if I'm meeting somebody for the first time and they don't know anything about me and I want to be able to tell them something, this is the place to do it. And that's tough because if you don't spend the time thinking about, how to introduce yourself. I mean, when we go to a party, we just, there's no agenda, there's no pressure, so we just ride with it, so whatever comes out in the heat of the moment or whatever, we just say whatever. But with a profile like this, you want to be a little bit more thoughtful about it. So you do want to, before you even start writing, you want to just sit down and think, okay, who am I? What am I trying to do here? What do I want people to think about me? And then maybe even talk to some other colleagues and friends, close friends, who can give you some feedback about you. So what do they see about you? And then incorporate that in the about section. I mean, that's really the only place where you have that sense of creativity to kind of, you know, play around with information, which you can't do in all the other sections. It's the work experience, it's your education. There's nothing much. The headline and the about section is the area. And of course, the content that you produce in their posts and stuff like that. That's where your real personality comes out,
Okay.
you know?
Great,
Yeah.
great tips. Because I know that a lot of people always seem to say that I don't know what to write about myself. Therefore, I don't update my LinkedIn profile. Therefore, I don't know what else to do, right? Since I'm not even updating anything. So
Mm.
let's also go into engagement, because having just a LinkedIn profile is not going to do anything for your career or business, right? Just by having it there, because people can
Yeah.
see you, but if they're looking at your activity and you don't seem to be having much activity, or don't write anything, or don't say anything, how should people start? Do they go and leave comments first? Do they start their own posts? What do they need to do in order to make sure that they're really utilizing LinkedIn in the ways that could help build their influence?
Yeah. I think, there's nothing quite like taking action that really gives you the motivation and the inclination to carry on. It's the whole idea of thinking about it, preparing, cleaning up, perfecting, and then just never hitting that post button. That it just gets scarier and scarier to do it that way. Um, think of it as a journey and think of it as, I'm just playing around. I'm having a bit of a fun, with this, and start slowly, but actually take action. So a lot of people probably will think, I'm not really into writing. I don't know how to write, and what do I write about? Or my writing's not that good. But you will see that a lot of people are getting more familiar with that and putting themselves out there. So don't make it too hard for yourself, and just think about what it is that you want to be associated with. If all of us who are on LinkedIn are working in some way, either they're entrepreneurs or they are having jobs. There are things that we are trying to push, topics, issues, products, services. We think of what those things are, and how they align with who we are, and we make a plan that we are going to talk about those things. In a way, we're selling what it is that we're trying to sell, but we're also selling ourselves in the process. We're putting ourselves out there. And the easiest way, I guess, to start is just to start by commenting. So not creating that fresh content, just going to other people that you would love to look up to, that you consider your digital mentors or people in your industry, and just see what they're posting. Take a cue from them, see what they're posting, and then just comment, and try to see how you can flesh out your comments. So don't be doing short comments like "thank you, well said, good." That
Oh, agree.
doesn't.
I agree. I
Or I
agree.
agree, I don't agree. Those kind
Yeah.
of things, it's great because it gives the person who authored it some feedback, which we all love, but it doesn't give the other readers who are taking the time to read that post, doesn't give them any feedback about you. If you're gonna put something down, you might as well make it work for you. So if you're gonna put an opinion down, tell people, if you think that the point that they've made is great, tell them why you think it's great. If you don't agree with it, tell them why you don't agree. Just a couple more sentences, but every little thing that you do, that's the beauty of the social media. Every little thing you do is being captured and it shows up in your activity. And so when someone is coming to your activity for the first time and they're looking at the quality of the posts that you're putting out, if you've got a whole bunch of well said, thank you, great work, like it's adding nothing. The person's already on your profile. You have an opportunity to make good impression, and you've just wasted it with nothing. So you might as well put 2 cents in there. Your thoughts on that topic. And so that's why it's very important to connect to the right people and to follow the right people, because those are the topics that you're interested in: HR, performance management, metrics, or whatever. Then you are weighing in on the topics that you already are familiar with and that you know, and that other people can see. And that's that in a sense, this is the small bits of your body of work. People looking at it for the first time goes, oh, okay, so she thinks this or she knows this. And over time, I mean, that's also how you can get headhunted, because you are letting your work speak for yourself through these comments, through the articles that you write, and so on and so forth.
I like that, because I see a lot of people do like, yes, I agree. I'm like, okay, yes, I know you agree, but do you have an opinion? Do you want to
Yes.
say something? I'm sure if you met them in real life, they probably have a ton of things to say.
Yes,
But it's
exactly.
just that on social media, I'm so scared to like put in the extra one more thing.
Yeah,
It could be
that's right.
controversial. I mean, sometimes I like it if some people give their opinion of something which is
Mm,
slightly different from ours. I think that's a great way to get the conversation going, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that tip. And for all of you who are watching right now, if you are going on LinkedIn and you're just putting yes, agree, love it, or whatever, start expanding that
Expand.
comment
Yeah.
to something that allows other people to see what you bring to the table,
Yes.
what
Just
you
remember
have.
that it's not just about you and the author of the post. It's a
Mm.
much wider audience here. Everybody who's connected to that person, and somebody who comments on what the author said, their connections as well. So it's huge. The range of people that can see what you've written can really grow, and you have an opportunity to really make an impact. And you've got people. This is, you don't have to spend money on ads, you don't have to spend money on getting a LinkedIn. Just this simple thing is bringing eyeballs to your profile, so
Yeah.
make the most
Maximize
of
it.
it. Yes,
Leverage it.
people.
Leverage
Yep.
it. That's the whole idea of today's Facebook Live, is to help you think about your LinkedIn better so they can use it more effectively for 2021 and beyond. And that is where a lot of us probably struggle with some of the things I've asked you. So I hope that those who are watching, please do something about your LinkedIn. Want to welcome some people who have just joined us. Hi, Natalie. Happy New Year. That's Ramona. I think, is that your family member? Same surname?
Yes, it's my sister.
Hi, Gina, and hi, Daniel. Okay, now Daniel says he has to leave, but we have is it a question? Is it? Or not a question, it's a comment. So let me just read that out. Oh, this is a long one. Hi, Rowena and Krista, and Happy New Year. From my experience and mistakes, authenticity is vital and of utmost importance. People, be it career search or networking or business opportunities, are looking for candidates or partners who have a genuine sense of purpose. So I would say don't lie. Don't shift your narrative to fit the context, because it is not going to work. What do you say to that? Ida.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rowena. Thanks, Ida.
Yes, thanks, Ida. Good to see you here. Totally agree with that. We shouldn't shift our narrative. That's the beauty of social media, but also can be your downfall if you're not authentic. If you are doing everything right, you're doing everything that is aligned to your goals and your values, you have nothing to worry about, and whatever you're doing will come through. But if you're trying to create an impression, you're trying to create a look and feel, it's exhausting and you can't really keep track of everything that you're saying across all of the different platforms. So totally agree with what you said, Ida.
So not to put on that fake persona and try to be
No,
someone else on LinkedIn, someone else on Facebook, someone else on Instagram.
I mean it's all public, so people are going to see it and they will notice the distinction. It'll be
Mm.
obvious to them if they're following you, if they're interested in you, right? If they're curious about you, they will see all of the differences that we can't assume that people are only on LinkedIn or only on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
We're everywhere, wherever we want to be. So
So this is also a time for me to ask you this question. So what are some of the results, maybe personally, because you've been on LinkedIn for some time now, what are some of the results that you've seen for yourself as a result of being on LinkedIn? And I think nothing speaks better to all of us than the results that you have gotten on your side, whether it's from the HR perspective or even from your. I know you have a paid account, right? So you can see a lot more than many of us. So maybe you can talk to us some of the results and some of the things that you do.
Well, in terms of results, I can see that I've gotten business from LinkedIn. Um, I've had people approach me for various kinds of work, whether it's on communication or marketing or branding. So it's for me, it's been very useful, and I have always used LinkedIn. I mean, aside from the early days when I was just kind of looking around and trying to evaluate it and see whether it would be a useful tool. Once I figured out that it was useful, I began incorporating it as part of my work day. That I would spend time on LinkedIn and see how I can leverage it to, for my business. So one of the businesses that I have is a Vertical Distinct, where we do HR certification and IT certification training. I get the word out there about these programs. I've used LinkedIn as well. I mean, alongside other marketing and sales activities, use this to kind of ensure that people have an understanding of the kind of work that I do, so that they would come on board for these courses. And so it's been very useful in terms of work. In terms of visibility, it's created a lot of visibility, but the visibility and the work, it's all got to do with the stuff that I'm doing. So what I'm trying to say is that the things didn't happen on its own. So if I wanted to grow my visibility in the US or in the HR space, it 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 affected the kind of things that I worked on to build that visibility in those spaces. So it was very goal driven. I had an idea in my mind of what it is that I'm trying to do on this platform. And then I went off and I did it, and then I saw the results. So I want to connect with HR people because I want people to HR people to understand. I was offering a certification program and the value in the certification program. Then I have people approaching me to do, copywriting or editing work. That's also because I've put myself out there. Now, perhaps I'm in a slightly unique position because I do a couple of things. And so, that's also a little bit tough to manage, in the sense that if you are you've got multiple talents. You're an editor, you're a writer, you're a marketer, you're a whole bunch of things. You don't want to necessarily put everything out at one shot, because then it seems like a lot of stuff but maybe not so good at it. So if you were going to somebody, if you knew somebody who had a good broad range of experience, and then next to that person was a specialist, obviously you'd go for the specialist, right? So it's the same way with putting yourself out on LinkedIn or any kind of platform, is you want to create that impression that you specialize in something. So if you have multiple talents, you want your audience to focus on maybe one or two of those talents only, and you'd kind of suppress or downplay the other talents, because they will eventually come to it over time. But which of the two that you want to put out, and that's what you put out, and that way you can create a more aligned presence online, so that there isn't that confusion. Because the other thing is, people are not coming to you, and they're not going to spend the time to look through your profile in great detail. They're not going to read every single article. They're going to scan. They're going to go to what catches their eye, an image here, a comment there. And from these various things, they're going to come to a quick idea of who you are. So the less stuff you have, the more alignment you have in your profile, the easier for them to come to that impression that is closely mirroring the kind of impression you're trying to create. If you have too many things, it won't work. So it's not to say that you don't specialize in those things, you just don't mention it all up front. And the other way to do it is, you could just have 2 or 3 things that you specialize in mainly in your profile, and use your body of work, your articles, to then talk about the other things.
I
So yeah, like let's say, I'm an editor. You use the articles that you write, people can see that you can write and you can edit and everything, so let that speak for itself, and then you don't have to talk so much about the fact that you're an editor in your profile. If you want to put forward more the fact, your marketing skills, or your entrepreneurial skills, you could do that. So that's one way to do that. Let different aspects of the features on LinkedIn to do the work, and don't have everything in the profile.
Okay. So it means that we shouldn't like throw everything in and
Mm,
overwhelm the person who
yeah,
reads our profile. It's like, oh my God, she does 10 million things. So
yeah,
which are the things that I should go to her for, right?
yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So great strategy, because I always feel that since these days a lot of us do many things, it's which is the cleverest way to actually put ourselves out there. So
Mm.
Ida finally came back. She says, "Oh yes, I do have a question." So
Oh,
Ida,
okay.
thank you. After the comment, she has a question. Yes. So her question is, how do you use hashtags and when and for what purpose? Great one, Ida. Love your question.
Hashtags. Hashtags. Okay, how do you use them? You want to associate yourself with perhaps just a handful of hashtags. I know everyone is using hashtags a lot, and hashtags, what works is if people can search for things using a hashtag, so that's why it's useful. If you choose popular hashtags, and then when people are searching those popular hashtags, then your post can come up. So that's one of the reasons, one of the benefits of using a hashtag. But sometimes people also like to just create these short phrases, and
Yeah.
make that the hashtag. Those are just fun things to do, but really doesn't add up to much. What you want to do is you want to search the hashtags that are trending. You want to search the hashtags that make sense for the kind of work you do, and you just want to incorporate that in a post. You could also incorporate that in your about section on your profile, and in any of the articles that you may write. The purpose, as I said, is it gets pulled up when people are searching on a hashtag. And you can do that on all of your posts and in your profile. I wouldn't go overboard though. Like sometimes people do it too often and for too many things. Like you don't want to have 16 hashtags at the end of your post. That's also because it adds to the word count, character count. So just a handful is good. And they're good to reinforce. So if there's a thing that you're trying to promote, or like, for example, I want to talk about body of work. I want people to understand the concept of a body of work. So I incorporate hashtag body of work in my posts. And there aren't many. So when people were to use that, and if they're familiar with it, then my post will come up, very quickly. So I hope that
Okay.
answers your question, Zaida.
So I guess it kind of works like a search term. I suppose
Yeah.
that we're Googling or something. It's like a search term, but
Yes.
it's more specific to findability
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I have a question.
Okay.
My question is, what do you do in your day when you're on LinkedIn, Rowena? I'm very curious. Like, I
What do I
know you use it extensively for your business and of course to build your influence and all that. What do you do?
A number of things. So, in LinkedIn, one of the things that I do on a regular basis is reach out and make new connections.
Okay.
That is a daily activity. I can't say I succeed in doing this daily, but I try to do it at least 3-4 times a week, sometimes 4 times. Yeah, and that's like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of just reaching out to new people. Prior to that, it's actually evaluating, because this shifts over the year, over a couple of months, over half a year. You may have different people that you want to reach out to depending on what it is that you're selling, and so the kind of people that I connect to would also shift. But what I do is I have a spreadsheet, and I mark down the when you use the search function, and the filters, there's so many parameters, and you want to have a sense of, make sure that you're consistent, and also like you're covering all the bases as opposed to just randomly um,
All over
going
the
all
place.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yes. So I decide by geography, I decide by job title, you decide by keywords.
No, you're
uh,
very strategic. Oh my God, Rowena, you're full on. You're like
yeah,
strategy.
but that, because I'm very organized in that way, so
Okay.
I like to be organized about how I'm doing, because I don't want to miss out on certain people, and every little parameter or filter, can create different results, because everybody puts in all the entries into their profile. So an individual decides how she will categorize, by keyword or what industry. It's not like the platform decides for you. And so if people don't want to say they're in this industry and they want to call themselves, an entrepreneur when they're not, or whatever, all of that has an impact on how they get found. So you can't just use keywords, or you can't just use job title. You sometimes, if you tick one and you untick another, or you change the size of the company, all of these different parameters will bring up different search results. And so you want to make sure that you cover your base, because you're talking about millions and millions of people, right? So
700
yeah,
million users
so that
on
that
YouTube.
that is a part of what I do on a daily basis, is reaching out, making connections. And the other part that I also spend time doing is creating content. So just having a clear idea in my mind, okay, who are the kind of people that I want to connect to, that I want them to see me and appreciate the kind of stuff that I have to share, see how I can add value, and then create content. Now, content creation it's tough. And, even me doing this on a regular basis, I still find it tough. And I still find
And
it
you're
tough.
the writer. You're the
And I'm a
writer.
writer. So, I
You're a
can
writer.
totally get people who don't do this. They would find it super tough. But the way I look at it is you gotta have a mix of content creation and content curation. So what I mean by
Mm.
that is you can't create content all the time, because it's very time consuming if we all have jobs and it's other stuff that we have to do. So I spend some of my time doing content creation, but the other thing that I do is content curation, which is really about going out there and finding things that are useful to me and useful to my audience, and then sharing it. But when I share it, I don't just share the thing, because often you'll see on Facebook or LinkedIn, people just find an article and then they put it out there. It's a wasted opportunity, because you found that article useful, right? And I don't want to guess what it is that you found useful. But so when you put the article out there, add a couple of lines, highlight to people. The other thing is also, people don't read, people scan. So are they going to click on that article? I mean, they'll have to read the headline, and then should I don't know. But if you can tell them, this is what I want you to know about this piece, this is why I'm sharing it, this is why I found it so valuable. You just had a couple of lines. You're adding value, because you're giving your connections who've taken the time to accept that connection, and they value what you think, they value how you think. So you might as well just share with them what you think about something, and then they'll go, okay, yep. And also it helps them, because if that's not an area that they're interested in, you've helped them by saying, okay, this is not something I'm interested in, it's okay, I'll catch the next
I've
piece.
saved your time.
Yeah, you've saved the
Yeah.
time, yes, because you don't want to be clicking on everything. So just keeping your reader in mind always kind of helps you to make sure that you're always doing the best, you're taking the best action.
Mm. I like that. I like that fact that even you as a writer, telling people content creation is hard. Yes, it is hard. And then for those who are not non-writers, they're like, oh my God,
Yeah,
like pulling teeth. Can't even
yes.
get one paragraph up, a couple of articles, right?
But I find that just sticking with it and being consistent about it and not giving up, because the other thing also is the fear is also there. Even after all these years, you still have the fear. You still, oh, shoot, it's not, because the other thing is you never get to a point where the things that you post are perfect. Like, I am totally happy with this. There's always, I need to spend another day on this, I need more research to back this up. Do I really think that? But it's not coming out, like what's in your head, it's all flowing very nicely, and then on the paper it's like, what the heck is this? It's not right. But and I could come back on it the next day, but you know
I
what's
edit
happening,
it.
all you're doing is kind of pushing off to tomorrow. You're waiting for this point where you're going to be perfect, but it's never going to come. And so part of what has helped me to create as much as I've done is a kind of letting go. You just say, after a point, it's good enough. It's not fantastic, but it's good enough to go out. And it's better it goes out in this form than not to go out at all.
Mm.
And
Great,
so
great.
you got to let go a little bit and just put it out there. And it, after a while, you kind of, it gets easier. It gets easier to do that. And that's how you get this body of
Body of
work.
work, body
Yeah.
of work, yeah, very clear body of work now. But of course, for those people who are just starting up, maybe they think, okay, maybe I should try content curation first.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
before they
absolutely.
ease into
Yeah.
writing. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
But as long as you're not, don't lie to yourself that you're going to eventually do it. Start with content curation. If that helps, fine. But at some point, you actually have to write something. So writing posts are good because, it's like 2 or 3 paragraphs, right? Writing an article on LinkedIn, you can write a much longer piece. So short posts are also a good way to start. Although you have the capability to write, 300 words or whatever, you could write 200.
Mm,
So, you don't have to take up the entire space, but
yeah.
get it going and you'll feel better once you start.
Okay. So in a way, to recap, start with updating,
Mm-hmm.
write update, right? Post what's
Yeah.
on your mind. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you're brave enough, write an article, put it on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you just want to ease yourself in and start with baby steps, try content curation. But
Yes.
of course, add your own opinions, and tell people why they need to read the article rather than just put the article on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. At least people can now start doing something on the LinkedIn rather than I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see, Rowena, you were at way before we started the Facebook Live. She was saying that I don't know what we're gonna talk for 1 hour. And guess what? We have hit the one
One
hour mark. Ah, you see?
hour. I have no idea how this happened. Yes. Good
And she was like, how
questions.
many questions are you going to ask me? And I said, well, I do have some questions in mind, but sometimes I also believe that as you speak and as the audience putting in comments, we will have so many ideas to talk about, so many things that we want to cover. So we have reached the end of our 1 hour today. I would like to ask the audience any last questions before we close, because if there are none, you can always reach out to Rowena. So let me just pull up this. Okay, so go to digitalconfluence.info or connect with her on LinkedIn. I mean, we're talking about LinkedIn, right? So how can we talk about LinkedIn without you going to LinkedIn and connecting with her? So go and talk to Rowena and ask her more stuff. Because I think one of the things that we should always do is that we should always take action.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, take action. So make sure you take action, because we hope that this year will be less crazy than last year. And this year would be more abundant in so many ways, hopefully for all of us in business, and of course other people who are not in business and career. Yes, use LinkedIn. Whether you're a business person or a professional, go ahead and maximize it. Build your body of work. What is that one key takeaway, Rowena, that you want people to remember as a result of listening to us for 1 hour?
Just one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it was not one, three. I don't
It's
know.
so hard to just like think of one. Okay, but if I had to do one, I would say just start. Just start.
Okay.
I mean, there's fear, there's uncertainty, there's confusion, but you just start and you learn as you go. You know,
Mm,
taking that action, as Krista pointed out, is really necessary because there's never a situation where you have all the answers right at the
mm.
start. You're never going to get to that place. So just start and learn along the way and have fun while you're doing it. It's a good way. So I hope you'll reach out and yeah, just any questions is good.
Okay, some last comments. Let me pull up some comments. Neil says, now I have an idea on how to better utilize LinkedIn. Great. That's the whole
Oh, that's
purpose of this
fantastic.
conversation with Rowena.
Thank
And yeah,
you. That's
now for the
good
first step.
news.
Yes. It's good that we can get people to take action on the second day of the new year. I love
Yes.
that. I love that.
It will make you feel so good too, right?
Yeah. And Ida, thanks, ladies. Great to see you. But thanks,
Thanks,
Ida.
Ida. Thanks for coming
Maybe
on.
you want to talk a little bit about Thrive. I mean, now that since Ida is here and since we have some mutual connections, so just yeah.
Sure. Well, Thrive is a meetup that I run using Facebook. It's an opportunity for you to broaden your network of women leaders and senior executives. It's a wonderful opportunity to just reconnect, meet new people, learn new things. I have a speaker that I bring on once a month. That's the plan, once a month. Although November was crazy, I did 3. But the idea is to bring in a speaker, have a chat, meet new people, and learn things along the way. So how do we share links and all? Maybe we can do that after the show if
Yeah,
people are
we can
interested.
put the link in the Facebook after that. So you just let me have the link. Yeah, I'll share the link. And
Okay.
then final comment from Rose. Hi, Rose. Rose is a friend of mine. Great job, Krista, Rowena. First time watching live in FB and definitely will take action using link. Yes, Rose, that's
Oh,
super
awesome.
idea.
Thank you,
Awesome,
Rose. I'm
awesome,
so
awesome.
glad to hear that.
Yeah. So yes, thank you so much once more, Rowena, for a wonderful conversation. I always love having all these conversations with people that I know and sharing stuff that they can take action on. I think that's the important thing for a lot of people. I just don't want it to just be a conversation where both of us are just talking and then no one gets anything out of it. So I really like the stuff that you are doing, and I'm grateful to you for the things that you've done in the past. Actually, I knew about you way before this. We
Oh,
must have a conversation about that. You see,
yes, yes,
that's the body. That's the body of work. I guess that's what you mean by the body of work, right?
yes,
People do
yes.
know about you. People hear about you way before they even meet you. And
Yep.
then when they meet you, it kind of like makes it even more, like it brings two kind of things together. Like they've heard about you and now they've met you or they're meeting you. So yeah. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here with us on a Saturday morning. I know you probably would have other things to do, but I'm glad some of you are here to learn something so that you can help yourself and help your business. This Facebook Live series comes on every 2 weeks. Rowena was asking me about that. I said every 2 weeks. That's my promise to myself. So I'll hope to see many of you back here again. And if you like this, please like and share this on your own Facebook pages. The reason why we're not doing this on LinkedIn is, number one, okay, to do it live on LinkedIn, I think you have to get permission from LinkedIn. So that's, I think, the tricky part about LinkedIn. So since I'm on Facebook, I do it on Facebook. But I also think that on the other hand, there's a blessing in disguise, because the people who are on Facebook are on Facebook. So now we're trying to like get them to use LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sneaky on our part, but I hope Mark Zuckerberg
We
doesn't kill
explore
us.
all the channels out there. Why not? It's
Yeah.
there. It's available. Let's use it. Thank you so much for having me, Krista. I hope all of you who tuned in got something out of it, and I'm happy to connect. If you were to come onto LinkedIn anytime, send me a question. I know we can't cover everything in 1 hour. There's so much more to say, but yeah, just feel free to reach out.
Okay. So I'll see all of you 2 weeks from now. And of course, yeah, feel free to connect with Rowena anytime that you want to, since we're all virtual these days. Okay. See you, everyone. Bye. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.